Welcome back to a new video where you're off to pick up a van because I've agreed to buy an engine out of a Cosworth. So it's the same engine as what's in like an Escort Cosworth or a four-wheel drive Sapphire Cosworth. So let's head there, get the van and then get on the road down to London. Right fellas, I've got the van. I've got a 5-hour drive from my house all the way down to London. We're literally in the centre of London to get this engine. So I'll catch up here when we get to the garage where the engine is. Right, so when we got inside the van, I got way too excited and I'd done exactly what nobody should do. I got too excited, too carried away, and I didn't do any checks. I am 100% positive the lad that was selling the engine would have let me do anything I wanted. He would have let us take spark plugs out. I could have done anything he wanted, but I didn't. I didn't do any checks and I wouldn't advise it. I just said, yep, I'll take it, and we'll put it in the back of the van and I headed straight home. Right fellas, we've got the engine on an engine stand. A huge thanks to Tony for coming round and giving us a hand to lift the engine with his engine lift, and a huge thanks to Tony's girlfriend for recommending Tony. Now what we have here is a 2-litre Cosworth 16 valve 4-pot engine, and I'm going to be honest, it is a bit rough. It is a bit of a rough example, but you'll find out in a minute how much I paid for it and you can see why it's so cheap. It does look like it's been left outside a long time, and there's a lot of stuff that worries us about it as well. There's a lot of loose bolts, like the rocker cover's loose, there's loose sump bolts, the diffs, it came with a lot of parts on the engine, and the front diff is actually loose, like the bolts are loose to the diff. The sensors missing, you see there, the sensors missing, there's bolts missing. I don't know too much of the history of the engine. I do know the shell was rotten, like the Cosworth shell, the 4-wheel drive Cosworth, Sapphire Cosworth shell was rotten, that this engine came out of, so that's why the engine was sold. But you can see there's a lot of dirt and rust, and now this is well beyond anything I've ever attempted before. I'm going to fully rebuild this. I'm going to do it all myself, or as much as I can. If it needs any machining work, I will go to a specialist and we'll document it. I'm going to document all the prices of everything, how much everything costs, and we're going to make it look like a really nice Cosworth engine. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it when it's built. It might go in the Sapphire, it might go in a 3-door, it might go in an Escort Cosworth, I don't know, it might go in something totally different, like, I don't know, some kind of BM. I don't know what I'm going to do, but it is a rough example, a really rough example. All the caps are loose, it's came with a dump valve, but all the rubber bits have snapped off and that. I don't know, it's for some reason it's got the crank sensor's loose. It's got another crank sensor here, so you can see it's had a breather on at some point. It's got all the breather system. This is the speedo drive, so that will go to your clocks behind your dashboard, and it's still got all that on. Obviously it's got all the 4-wheel drive sump with all the front diff in still, but it is very, very rough. It looks like it's been left outside or forgotten about and just sat around for a long time. It's got rust all over, even the rubber belts. You see they've got rust on where it's been sitting. But like I say, we're going to fully strip it. We're going to fully rebuild it, so we'll get the rocker cover looking mint. We'll change the turbo, because that's not going to make 500-600 brake, which I eventually want to get out of the engine. We'll refurbish all the alternators. We'll paint everything. It's going to look like a mint engine. We'll change the inlet. We'll put a nice inlet on it. But like I say, this rocker cover is loose, so we can take this off and I can show you underneath. Take that rocker cover, we'll put it down there. Look, it's even got like bits of grit in now on the rocker cover. One thing that did worry is, what I noticed when I got back, is it's actually missing a spark plug for some reason. This is a 4-pot engine and it's got 3 spark plugs. But you can see there's the camshafts, 16 valve camshafts. I mean, they look all right. I am not an expert, so I don't really know what I'm looking at, but they don't look like they've got too much wear in that one. They look all right to me. Maybe if any experts are out there watching, feel free to drop in the comments and give some advice, some tips. Do you know what I mean? Because I see, I'm new to this. But you've got to remember, fellas, every engine builder out there started with his first engine. And this is my first engine. I mean, like a wise man once said, it's better to shit your pants than die of constipation. So it's best to have a go than never try at all. So that's what we're going to do with this. Go and have a go. With that, put this rocker cover back on. There we go. But that's it. There's the turbo, standard turbo. Seems to spin well. There's no slack in it. But as you can see, it's a bit shabby past its best. It does have some Samco hoses on there. You can see there. It's got a big dump valve that'll be going in the bin because we don't want a dump valve on anything. We're also going to run anti-lag on this engine. And I want the anti-lag so loud, I want it to wake me dead grandparents. Honestly, man, this is going to be a mint engine. But like I say, I don't know what I'm going to put it in, but it's going to be a powerful engine. I want a lot of torque out of it as well, not just brake horsepower. I want torque. But you can see like the rust, all the head's oxidised. Even the oil filter's going rusty. So it hasn't been ran for a long time. A long time. There's a couple of things would need good, like all the inlet can be replaced fairly cheap. All the turbos are not too badly priced. There's 3 things I really need to be mint. That's the head, because if you take the head off these, you skim the head, and once the thickness of the head from that point there to this point here gets too thin, you can't use them on a turbo car. You can use them on a naturally aspirated engine, but you can't use them on a turbo car. So we'll have to measure that head once it comes off the block. And I'm hoping the block's good because that's a very expensive part. That's the reason I bought this engine. It's a 4-wheel drive engine. It's got the strong 200 block, so it will handle big power. And I'm hoping the crank's good because the cranks are expensive. On the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to fully strip it. So we'll get all the inlet off, all the turbo, everything. We're going to strip it down to a bare block. We'll check it all. I mean, I could have bought a pile of scrap. Hopefully not, but it could be a pile of scrap. But on the next video, we're going to strip it down to a bare block. We'll paint the block up. Oh, it's going to be mint. I can't wait. I can't wait to have a go. Like I say, if you've got any hints, tips or advice, leave something in the comments. Do you know, honestly, I haven't even checked it's got oil in, which is a bit stupid really, isn't it? But honestly, I've got Cosy goggles, so let's have a look. Yep, there's oil in there. So in the next video, we'll drop the oil, and it could be like glitter. Do you know what I mean? It could be full of, I don't know what the oil's like. So one more thing I'm going to do is, I've bought a whiteboard, and I'm going to keep track of the cost of the engine build. So if you're ever doing something similar yourself, you know roughly how much it costs. Now, the price of the engine was, I'm curry-handed, was £5,000. Then it cost us 300-ish for the van, the hire van, to go and pick the engine up in London. Then it cost, I don't know, 100 quid in fuel, coffees, sandwiches to go and get it. So far we're into 5,400, but all I'm going to keep track of is the bits, the parts. So I'm not going to count my labour. I'm not going to count anything that doesn't go on the engine. So we'll not count the fuel, and we're also not going to count the hire van. So far the engine cost £5,000. I'll keep track of if I buy paint, if I buy when I get machining work done, stuff like that. I will not count my fuel. I will not count my labour, anything like that. So we're just purely going to keep track of what goes into the engine. So far we're £5,000 in for the end. Oh, it's hard to write like this. For the engine. That does the engine. Right, that is it, fellas. I am over the moon to have a go at this. Honestly, I can't wait to get this engine apart and see what it's like. On the next video, that's what we're going to do. We're going to fully strip it down to a bare block. Now, I am no expert, so if you've got any hints, tips or advice, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.